Next through the revolving door, Igor Tudor. So what do we know? Well, he's had 11 jobs in 12 years. Does that tell its own story? But he's a chaos specialist, so right man, right club. He's bringing his own crew, which means we say goodbye to Johnny Heitinga after an era-defining 4 weeks. And most of Frank's nodding dogs have been binned. Speaking of which, we've got a bit more Room 101 for you, plus fact or fiction, which includes club legend Tim Sherwood. I can't believe I said club legend and Tim Sherwood in the same sentence. We've got some stupid Spurs tweets, and we'll look into Angie's overlap interview. Why did he want to stay at such a small club? Lots more besides. Strap in. It's Nice One Cyril.
Nice One Cyril.
So welcome to Nice One Cyril. Joining me to navigate this week's wreckage, Julie Welch, who hasn't said fuck for the last 3 episodes of Nice One Cyril. So come on, Julie, for God's sake. Kevin Acott, whose alleged smile in 1987 wasn't captured on film, so we'll have to take it on trust. And Dave Bradshaw, a microbiologist still working on a cure for Spursiness. Well, good luck with that. Okay, so we do have a spanking new manager, one Igor Tudor. I've got lots of facts and figures about him, unusually for me. Dave, why don't we start with you? First impressions of the great man.
Quite like the anger. He looks like he's got some pent-up potential random violence in him. And I'm kind of on board with that. Sort of slightly threatening demeanour, I think, in some of the pictures that I saw. So I hope that comes to play. I mean, well, assuming that gets a result. I've got to be honest, I'm a bit underwhelmed by it. I thought it was obviously a very odd decision, to be completely frank about it. Frank, we shouldn't be mentioning him. I must admit, honestly, I thought Sean Dyche would have been a better pick, actually, because not that I know how they do this stuff, but from what I hear, they watch thousands of hours of videos of teams and they plot how they're going to barge into people at corners or not or whatever, and he's going to have a lot of work cut out between here and next Sunday to get on terms with Lego Head, would be my anticipation, really.
Yeah, and we'll get on to that match towards the end of today's pod. Let's have a think about exactly what we're getting here, Julie. He has managed or assistant managed Hajduk Split, PAOK, Karabükspor, Galatasaray, Udinese, Hajduk Split again, Juventus, Hellas Verona, Marseille, Lazio, Juventus again, and then Tottenham Hotspur. So that's since 2013, for fuck's sake. So he's either been sacked or flounced out on the whole. I think he was tracked down once or twice and didn't last very long. But he does have this reputation, doesn't he, for going into clubs and getting them out of difficult situations. Have we got the right man then?
I just really don't know. I mean, I'm so looking forward to his first punch-up with Romero. I mean, I think sell tickets for that for a start, because that is going to happen. What really interests me is that last December, Paratici actually told the babies who run the club that Igor Tudor was the right man to replace Frank, because he wanted Frank to be replaced then. And don't we wish that that had come about? But no, everything went the way it went. And we're only now sort of beginning to sort our way through the wreckage. I think it's quite funny that Heitinga's gone before you've even worked out how to pronounce his name. It's really just, it's a clown car, isn't it?
Lovely way to put it. Kev, this guy, Tudor, he's like a kindred spirit, isn't he, for you? I mean, he looks very unsmiling, very grim-faced, and, it's just, perhaps it's just his demeanour, because I know underneath it you're a softie, but I'm not sure he is. But I guess we do need someone to knock them into shape. This is a squad that has been, what's left of it, drifting hopelessly under the sort of I was going to say it's like they've been in a boat without a sail or an engine with Frank. This guy, he does have this reputation, doesn't he, for writing the boat. We've all done a bit of Wikipediaing, but it's very hard to know whether. I mean, it looks like an intelligent choice in the absence of anyone else, but I don't know. What's your instinct?
My initial instinct was, oh my God, what have they done now? I think after a few days, I'm sort of thinking, well, maybe, he is one of us, by which I mean, someone who's not challenged by far too much hair, unlike some people. So I like his demeanour. I like the fact that team do need someone very angry, I think, to work with them, really. There's obviously one or two people. Simmons, I can't imagine, needs an angry manager. I think he just needs a red nap palm around the shoulder, but they need it. As a squad, as a team, they need someone aggressive. They need someone unapologetic and unpleasant. I think his aim, his target, everyone's target now is stay up. And if he can do that, then it was a good decision.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a hindsight job, isn't it? Because from where we're sitting right now, it's impossible to make any kind of sensible prediction. Dave, one of the issues for me about appointing an interim, but first of all, it was very hard to find someone to take the job permanently. There was talk about Robbie Keane, there was talk about Poch, there was talk about all kinds of people. The people who were available, De Zerbi, Maresca, I don't think we wanted, frankly, and I'm not sure they would have taken it because it was a bit of a poisoned chalice. So here we are with an interim. It was always going to be an interim, it seems. And the question is this. We've got a bunch of, as I said earlier, a bunch of players who have completely lost all desire, all passion, and all belief. Are they going to buy into a bloke, however stern, however tough he is, who they know is just there to haul them out of a hole?
Yeah, that's interesting. As you know, I do follow the betting markets a little bit for various nefarious sort of purposes, but they've got, I think, last I looked, Poch is the clear favourite to be the permanent replacement. But I think our new man, Igor, is about third or fourth in, about 6 or 7 to 1. I guess there's always that possibility, isn't there? Same as Carrick at United. And Carrick is, I think, similarly is kind of very short odds now to be the next permanent United manager because he's an interim at the minute, isn't he, as well? So I guess there's that. But I do agree with you. I think motivating footballers is quite an interesting subject, isn't it, really? Kev alluded to the kind of arm round the shoulder stuff or the shouty Ferguson thing or whatever. Because obviously when they're earning such vast amounts of money, and most of it's fairly unconditional, isn't it? Doesn't make that much difference whether they win or lose. And managers go quite regularly anyway. So sorry, I don't really know, I suppose, is the simple answer to that question.
Yeah, I'm glad you joined us. Glad you joined us today for that expert opinion. He comes into the job, Julie, without having any Premier League experience, either as a player or as a manager. Now, a lot of people have decided that counts against him. But then Mourinho came into Chelsea without any previous, so Conte as well. Lots of managers come here without any previous understanding or experience in the Premier League. So I'm not sure that really matters. Do you think that's of relevance? Perhaps because it's such a short-term appointment.
Actually, I'm quoting Lee Brown here. He did point out that Frank had 7 years Premier League experience and he was dog shite, basically. And Nuno had Premier League experience and he was shit for us too. So from that point of view, the argument doesn't hold at all. He's just such an unknown quantity. I mean, he's been coaching clubs who sort of, you just see their names at, the first round of the Europa League and never again. He's that kind of bloke. Well, the positive thing I can say about him is that he has a really nice beard. I mean, his hair furniture is excellent. And after months of worrying about Thomas Frank's hair, here is a well-groomed person who, even if it all goes pear-shaped, it's not going to sort of go wild and knotted or fall out. It might get grayer, but that's really all I can say. He is a unknown quantity.
I think you make a very important point about his hair. He does have sensible hair, and he goes to a proper old-fashioned barber, short back and sides, and you know where you are. You know where you are with a bloke like that. Instead of somebody turning up like a polytechnic teacher from the 1980s, Thomas Frank, we don't want that anymore. So we've got that. Let me ask you this, Kev. We've got 12 Premier League matches, is that right? 12 left to go. Got a lot of easy fixtures. Well, we've got a lot of fixtures against teams that are a bit shit like us. Theoretically, it's not the hardest run in the world. If he wins all 12, and of course the 4 or 5 matches we need to win the Champions League, there's a very strong case for keeping him.
There would be if that happened, absolutely. My suspicion is we'll win just enough to stay up, and we'll have a couple of good games in the Champions League, and then go out, and we'll all think, he's done what we've expected of him, but he's not the man to lead us forward, and that would be my prediction. I think that's the most likely. I can't see anyone transforming this team into Champions League winners, and consistent Premier League winners. It's just not. It's not going to happen. It's annoying. It feels like there's still this unanswered question, which is, who is going to be our manager? Is it going to be Pochettino? I have this sort of dread of the summer not just being the will we sign anyone, but also who's it going to be. I hope they've already decided. And I hope, we've talked about it a lot, I know. I mostly hope it's going to be Pochettino.
Okay, Lee made a very good case for Poch on last week's show, and in the end I was almost convinced, Dave. It does feel a bit like it's a fait accompli. So we've got Poch's, I think his contract with USA ends in September. So there's not much in it. The United States will be out of the World Cup quite early. He'll be available to commute that and come over early and get started. I can't imagine, even if Igor were to win everything, that this board is ready to entrust him with whatever, I think it's 12 billion quid is what did Vinay say for transfers? I can't believe they're going to entrust it to him. I can believe they will give it to Poch.
Yeah, hopefully that comes to pass. I've kind of warmed to I think, like you said, Lee gave a very passionate case for Poch, and I think I'm sort of warming to that. And it feels like the only thing that might repair all the wounds, really, as well. There's a little bit of it. It's almost the only show in town, isn't it? You can't imagine any other. There really aren't any other realistic candidates, are there?
I think if Xabi Alonso was available, I would bite all my hands and feet off to get him, because, he is a quality manager. He's shown it. And there's an argument, isn't there, that, we would be another, I've forgotten who he managed now. Was it Dortmund? Who did he manage? Was it? No, it wasn't Dortmund. Yeah. Was it? He won the league with them. Anyway, that team. Oh, shit. That's really let me down there, hasn't it? Julie, come on, you're the expert. Who did he manage before Real Madrid?
I'm hanging you out to dry, Simon, I'm afraid.
It was a Team Germans. And he did very well. He won the league. He beat Harry Kane to the title the year before last. And, okay, so, would Spurs be another project for him in that style? Or has he kind of elevated himself already beyond that, and he's only looking for elite?
The big gigs. Yeah. You'd imagine so, wouldn't you, really? That sounds like more like it, in which, again,
it depends very much whether or not he's Liverpool bound, which when Slot was struggling earlier on this year and late last year seemed a possibility. And I think the moon would be made of green cheese before he wanted to take the Spurs gig. And the other thing is, where Poch is concerned, I don't think he would want the job if we're actually relegated. I think he's already made a statement which is worded very carefully, but seems to indicate that it's all about, if the time is right. I think that were the words in which I read as, I'm not managing a championship club, please.
Who can blame him? Yeah.
So I don't think it should be taken for granted that Poch would join us. I'm sort of on the other side of the argument from Lee. I'm not sure that it's a great idea for him to come back, as I said before. So I don't know. It's just, I feel that we're completely in limbo. I mean, even though they've sorted out the interim manager, I can't really work up any feeling apart from a vague residual dread at the moment.
This weekend has been an interesting one because it's painful having this long gap between the games, but at the same time, it was quite nice this weekend not to have a game as well.
It coincided with Kev's birthday, and he got a free pass on Saturday. Not only Valentine's Day, but no Spurs to fuck things up for him. So that's almost perfect. Kev, let me ask you about this. It's been sort of stated in Igor's defence that he knows some of our players quite well. He knows Udogie, he knows Vic, which is good for him. And he, of course, he's worked with Kulu and Bentancur, who seems quite irrelevant because they're both injured forever. But here's an interesting one. He got a tune out of Muani at Juventus. So Muani apparently scored 5 goals in 11 matches under Igor. Now, wouldn't that be a bonus if he could get that guy? Because we've always said there's something there, just can't see it. Wouldn't that be a bonus to get him knocking in a few goals?
It really would, and I had an out of character little buzz of excitement there. When you said that. Can you imagine us having a new Muani, a player, a striker who can actually sort of do something and strike? Yes, because he's obviously Muani cannot be as bad as he appears to be with us. I mean, that's also true of so many other players and so many managers over the years, I know. So it must be possible to get a tune out of him. And maybe he's going to do it. I'm going to go for a lie down now after that.
Well merited, you've earned that. Let's have a look at this. He's bringing with him, Dave, Igor Javorcic, of course. I mean, we all knew he'd come with him as assistant coach. Riccardo Raganaci, I think, physical coach. And the great Tomislav Rogic, goalkeeping coach. If he can get Vic to become a goalkeeper, that would be like the biggest fucking best thing that's ever happened to Spurs coaching.
Yeah.
We are losing the following. Justin Cochran, who was, hailed as the next big thing. He's gone. Chris Haslam, Joe Newton, I don't know who these people are, and the great Johnny Heitinga. And there's been quite a major clear out. But in actual fact, they've kept the set piece coach, which makes me think, long throws. They're still there.
There was a picture of him in a private jet, wasn't there?
Yes.
Coming over. I don't know if you saw that. They had a nice bowl of apples in front of them.
Yeah.
On their little table.
Yeah. We might be going from apples to lemons in the summer. Let's see. Julie, this is what Igor says. This is his football philosophy. Here we go. He says, I won't do it in his accent because I haven't yet nailed his impression of him because we've not heard him speak. That'll come next week. You lucky people. So he says, I want courageous and intensive football, not only uniquely based on the defence. I want people who come to the stadium to be entertained and not disappointed.
It's boilerplate, Simon.
But let's say it is boilerplate. But let's say, in theory, that was his philosophy. But frankly, right now, I don't think there are many Spurs fans who give a shit about being entertaining or attacking. What we give a shit about is not playing away next season to Southampton.
I was rather disturbed by the news that he favours 3 at the back. I mean, apart from the fact that I don't think we've got a 3 at the back at the moment. Danso's out for some time because he's busted a ligament in his toe. And we've got Dragerson and Mickey. And after that, I mean, can he manage with 2 at the back and then perhaps Moani can help? I don't know. It's the whole situation is, well, I was going to say verging on the ridiculous, but it's been ridiculous for some time. I'm sure that the guy, he took it on probably because he wanted a job.
Yes,
I find it hard to imagine how he's going to set the team up because, well, that was the problem Frank had every week, mainly because he didn't know how to set the team up. Maybe this guy is good at setting a team up. I don't know. I'm just sort of talking myself into a complete fit of despair at the moment. And I'm just going to think of this really nice, this bloke nicely dressed in a proper suit with a beard and, good face furniture. And I'm just going to hold that in my mind. And I'm just not going to think about the weeks to come. How long is it going to take him to work out, who's any good and who's a complete tosser?
We could tell him. Yeah, I mean, this is what we exist for. So if he can give us a call, in fact, we'll get him on the pod and we'll give him belt and braces. This is interesting, isn't it, Kev? We're very limited, or he's very limited in terms of choice. This is something that poor beleaguered Thomas Frank had to juggle with. But if he wants to play 3 at the back, I suppose there's Paulinho. If one of those gets injured, we're done for. That plan goes right down the shitter, unless he's going to play, I don't know, Junai Byfield or somebody, which I think is unlikely. He doesn't like wingers that much, which is a bonus because we haven't got any good wingers. But 2 up top, Solanke and possibly Moani. It feels, I don't know, it feels like if that's the setup, where you've got a bit more solidity at the back, and maybe he likes to play the ball, apparently. I'm just telling you. Listen, I've Wikipedia'd this, so it must be true. He likes to play the ball through the lines. I don't know what that means. But he doesn't like going wide and just chucking crosses in. He likes to have the through ball. Perhaps Simmons could star.
I think they've actually just invented him. That's what I'm wondering about, whether this guy actually never existed in football before now. And they've just planted stuff about him on Wikipedia and everything else, and it's just some mate of Vinay's. That sort of slightly worries me.
Like a bloke he goes out for dinner with, and he thinks, do you know what? I've got a job for you.
Yeah. I don't know, that as you were describing that team there, or potential team there, I was thinking, it's not bad, is it? It's not a relegation team on paper. It's significantly better than at least 3 other teams in the league. If they stay fit, it's hard. Even as you said, Solanke and Moani, in my head, I've said to myself, assuming neither of them gets injured. That wasn't a joke and it wasn't being cynical. That's based on evidence, really. We have been so unlucky. So, part of what happens over the next few weeks is going to be down to that as well. It doesn't look like anyone really is going to be coming back, I don't think. Madison's not. Kulu's not, is he?
Dave, I think Kev makes a great point. I mean, we just don't have the personnel right now. Kudus. I mean, you imagine it's almost we've forgotten about Kudus and what a talented, outstanding footballer he is, and we've missed that. He's gone, and so we are in a right state. But it does seem to me that even Thomas Frank, the useless, nebulous Thomas Frank, was able from time to time to get the team to play. Now, the argument was always, when they played well against City in the second half and against Liverpool with 10 men and 9 men, that was nothing to do with Thomas Frank. Maybe so. Maybe that's the players. But it does suggest that the players have got it in them to rally around each other and do something.
Absolutely, yeah. And actually, they've rarely played as 2 halves together for good football, haven't they? That's been a big issue. If you'd have been able to pick halves and put them together into an actual game, they might have won a couple more games. I think there are, and exactly what Kev said, the team, the 11, and it probably is only 11 now, are not a bad 11, despite what we occasionally say about them sometimes.
We're going to see people, I think people like Archie Gray, who was tremendous against Newcastle when others weren't. I think we're going to see people like that grow up. I think we're going to see Simmons actually just become even more dominant as a force in the midfield, and I can just see things changing out of circumstance. You have to stand up and be counted, and I'm hoping that this guy Igor is the man to make them recognise that. Let's move on, Julie. At the risk of upsetting our friend Lee Brown, Ange Postecoglou, our former manager, was on something called The Overlap this week. Now, I have to confess, I haven't watched the whole interview, but I've watched excerpts and I've read bits about it. One of the things Ange said was that I don't think he quite called us a small club, but I think he implied that we had a small club mentality in certain respects, specifically recruitment and wages. Now, he then mentioned that, he wanted us to buy Semenyo and Neto and all these players. Well, that's bollocks, of course, because lots of people wanted to buy those players, and they may not have wanted to come anyway. So that's an irrelevance. It's a side issue. But I think there is actually some merit in that criticism. But do you feel, as I do, that he should be better than that? I thought he was better than that, particularly given that he was so desperate to stay.
I think that you should allow him to get it off his chest, really, because he must be really, really pissed off to achieve what he achieved and then get the tin tack. I was interested that he said that he knew from about January onwards that this was going to be the end. I can see why they sacked him in a way, but I think it was a mistake in another way. I feel really conflicted about it because, yes, the results in the Premier League were dog shit, and a lot of it was due to the fact that he was not tactically sophisticated. He was just so good at motivating the side for the Europa League. I really enjoyed that overlap. I thought it was lovely, and he got the club banged to rights as far as I was concerned. And it's what we've been saying on this pod for weeks. I mean, that bit about, yes, he wanted Semenyo, etc., I did think, go on, Ange, who are you kidding? You're an intelligent man. You knew the score. They were never going to go for Semenyo because of the wages, because of the cost, and because there were at least two much bigger and better clubs after him. And it was quite true what he said, that, Spurs aren't a big club. We're lucky to be middle of the table, if anything, at the moment. In a way, the Europa League win was a blip, wonderful though it was. The last time we were any good was when Conte was in charge, and we all know how that ended. And it's just stagnated ever since.
With regard to this Ange thing, Kev, just to tie this up, there's a bit of hindsight there, isn't there? Because he's saying, I knew from the end of January that I was going to be given my marching orders. What he also knew in January was that for the Europa League, he was going to adopt a different approach, which was pragmatic and effective. It may not have been pretty. Why the fuck, then, didn't he stop that horrific losing streak in the Premier League and then give himself a better chance when the time came at the end of the season to be retained?
I think that's a good point. And I never really quite got this, I'm going to abandon the league and I'm going to focus entirely on Europe. We were erratic in both, actually. We were pretty terrible in most European matches. We were better in a couple of league matches than we were in Europe. So I always wondered whether that was a bit of a sort of narrative put in place as we headed downwards rapidly. Because part of me can't understand a manager either just saying, forget about it, lads. Forget about this league match. It's not important. I just can't quite see that happening. So I wonder whether we've all, including me, that we've sort of swallowed a bit of a myth about that.
Yeah. I think it's been fitted to the fact after the fact, hasn't it? He was not just, I'm not sure about tactically naive, but he was just stubborn, wasn't he? He just kind of insisted on playing this particular way the whole time. And I totally agree with Kev. I don't think professional footballers know how to take anything not seriously. I think they're unbelievably competitive people.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've got off switches like that.
I completely agree with that. I think it was entirely down to the way he set them up for league matches, and to go out and not care because we're going to win this other tournament, right, is so ridiculous. What if we don't win the other tournament?
Not that I have an enormous amount of time for Jason Cundy, but he did say on TalkSport that he thought that he said players are selfish. Basically, if they get a sniff of anything, if they get a sniff of victory, then they'll go all out for it. And I think that's what happened. I don't think it was anything to do with Ange, really. It was Ramiro, Mickey, one or two others just, decided amongst themselves that they were going to really put themselves out, which in a way doesn't say a lot for them because, why weren't they putting in that effort in the league? But there you have it. I quite believe what Jason Cundy suggested, amazingly.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that's more subconscious than conscious, because they've sort of set this all up mentally. We're gonna really go for the tournament because it means it's silverware and it counts. And you don't want to get injured playing against Wolves at home. You don't want to get yourself into a situation where for some reason you run out of form and you don't even make that team. So I can see how subconsciously, but I think consciously, I just can't believe players would ever just throw a game and think, fuck it, we're going to win this other thing. Anyway, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's move on. Why don't we have a bit of Room 101? Now, Kev, your Room 101 this week. Fire away.
Well, I wasn't sure. So over the last couple of weeks, I've sort of written a few things down, and I realised that there's nothing very original, really. I think everyone would just agree with me. But the one that I think probably no one would repeat is I would like to put my dad into Room 101, basically, for not insisting that I support Charlton Athletic. My dad was a Charlton fan. His dad was a Charlton fan. He supported my addiction from a very young age. Very, very poor parenting. In those days, there were no social services in Enfield. And
No.
he never put any pressure. And I just sometimes, particularly this season, have wished I was a Charlton Athletic supporter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a gross dereliction of parental responsibility, I would say. And I hear you. And your dad is now in Room 101.
Thank you.
Dave?
I have a couple for you, actually, and these are kind of pet hates. I'm not sure whether anybody's going to agree with me about them, but one that really annoys me is people shielding the ball to allow the ball to run out of play with absolutely miles away from the ball, no intention of playing the ball at all, and it just drives me bananas. And there's a solution, obviously, which is that if people try to do that, they should be open to being fouled. Like it should be a free hit would be the obvious. You'll get a free kick.
Yeah.
And literally a free kick at the opponent for shielding the ball out. That would be one. It's a bit mindless. And my second one is substitutes players being substituted off, who then move off. All I can say is they move off, trot off, slower than my nan walking up Muswell Hill, frankly. And again, that one I've got there could be some better solutions, but the taser would be one of the options for that one, where they just get hauled off the pitch.
You're a typical scientist. You're a proper scientist because you have identified the problem and suggested practical solutions. And that's very, very impressive. Julie, what have you got for us?
The trouble is that I really enjoyed the weekend. I loved the FA Cup football, and so many things happened that I really enjoy happening, like goalkeepers being sent off. It's always, one of my great pleasures. And the only thing I can sort of possibly put in Room 101, I think, is whoever was commentating on Arsenal v Wigan, who just kept on and on saying nice things about Eze, who, as you know, I have a bit of a thing there. I didn't want to know, how he had sort of got over his sort of difficulties and how he was really finding, a place in the team. And actually, I'm going to say fuck.
Hallelujah!
I was commentating about and saying nice things about Eze, they can just fuck off because I really don't want to know. And the same thing goes for Morgan Gibbs White as well. Just think, if that hadn't been bollocksed up, and if Eze hadn't been bollocksed up, I would be saying nice things about them. But as far as I'm concerned, they can both go in room 101. There we go.
Well, listen, that's excellent stuff. And we're back on the fuck trail, and that's great. That's great. I'm feeling so much happier. So I've got a couple of things. One is defenders defending with their hands behind their backs in the penalty area. Now, I don't know what the answer to this is. Probably Dave would have a brilliant answer to this because, of course, if their arms are out, then the ball hits their arm. It's a penalty. But it just unbalances them. They look awkward. They lose all elegance and control. I think I'm right in saying that the second goal by Origi in the Champions League final in 2019, Toby Alderweireld had to put his hands behind his back. Of necessity, it threw him off. So I'm not sure. I'd want to bin that, but I'm not sure what the solution would be to stop, that turning into penalties every 5 seconds. But the one I really wanted to focus on, because I'm a grudge bearer, it's Ben Foster. Now, Ben Foster's been retired for a while, but notwithstanding, whenever that fucker came to the lane, he started wasting time from the 3rd minute. I mean, and the referees did nothing about it. So I want to put Ben Foster retrospectively. In fact, he can go now. He deserves it still into room 101 with all the referees who let him get away with it. There we are. Now, should we have a bit of fact or fiction? What about fact or fiction? Here we go. This is for you, Kev. Tim Sherwood called TalkSport. Julie's already laughing just because I've used the words Tim and Sherwood in a podcast. And fair enough. Right, here we go. Tim Sherwood called TalkSport, which was criticising him, using a fake name to make the case for himself. Is that fact or fiction?
That's got to be facts, isn't it? If you'd used anyone else's name, I'd have some doubt. But no, I absolutely believe that.
Yeah. I mean, because he's such an arsehole that
Exactly.
you could imagine him doing that. Yeah. Sadly, that's not true.
Oh.
Sorry about that. Dave, here's one for you as a glasses wearer. Here we go. Edgar Davids once had to play an away match wearing a pair of borrowed prescription swimming goggles because he forgot to pack his signature sports glasses. Is that true? It's a toughie. Dave, your mic's off, so we'll never know.
I'm going to say false because
Okay.
I thought he had some special orange coating, but I could be, obviously I could be wrong.
Okay, well, you are correct. It's not true. Although he did, and this is a fascinating fact, he did once play in a training match with normal sunglasses. So, wonders will never cease. Here's one for you, Julie. Roberto Soldado once missed a penalty in training so badly that the ball hit a pylon behind the goal, which flipped it forward with backspin and it went in. One unnamed coach said it was his only open play goal of the week.
That is so awful. It's got to be true.
How I wish it were true. But it sounds so plausible, doesn't it?
I love Bobby Soldier. When he actually finally did score, I think it was against Everton. We all gave him a standing ovation, and I wept for him.
Yeah.
Tears of happiness.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he did really try, and he just was shit. That's just the way it goes sometimes. Here's one for all of us. All right, well, not for me because I know the answer. So whoever wants to answer this, put your hand up. Here we go. Heung-min Son's father once banned him from playing for a month because he felt his reaction times on the pitch were dropping by milliseconds. True or false? Anyone? Kev?
I'm going true. That he's a scary, scary man, and that sounds, just like him, I think.
Yeah, you are right. And in fact, you're right. His dad is. I mean, has he ever smiled? Oh, Christ Almighty!
He's even scarier than Rowan Longer. I mean, in the Never Smile contest, I'm not sure who'd win.
Actually, Kev, you are. You're a bit more smiley these days than you used to be. But it's disappointing, to be honest.
I'm disappointed with myself. Yeah.
Yeah, you're letting yourself down. All right, let's tell you what. Now, I have done my weekly trawl of stupid tweets. I'll be honest with you. I've not found that many, which is so strange for Spurs Twitter. Here's one, though. This was just before Thomas was fired. It said, Thomas Frank reportedly sees Pedro Porro as Tottenham's only world-class player this season. No wonder he was fired. Dave, come on.
That's Pedro. But his delivery, the free kicks, the mostly harmlessly into the crowd. Yeah, it's difficult to see that one, isn't it?
Yeah. Here's one for you, Julie. This is from a well-known podcast, and this is from their Twitter feed. Just in. Tottenham Hotspur CEO Vinay Venkatesham and sporting director Johan Langer, your mate, wanted to keep, that's in caps and bold, wanted to keep Thomas Frank. The Spurs board and the Lewis family instructed Venkatesham that he had to sack Frank. What do you make of that?
If I saw that, I just wouldn't even read it because it had several words in it which I just don't want to read about. Lewis, Venkatesham, Langer. I mean, just gone.
Yeah. It's like a smorgasbord of repellents, isn't it? It's horrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Put it better.
I hear you. Right. This is another one. Clube refeto as perguntas do Aston Villa e dos Chelsea no mes pasado sobre o meio-campista sueco Lucas Bergvall. Kev, that one's for you, I think.
Oh, thanks for that, Simon. I went from thinking that was Portuguese to Norwegian, so I've no idea. Yeah, no, I can't comment on that because my Portuguese isn't great.
Well, I'm pleased you've identified that as Portuguese because, frankly, I don't know what I was just mangling that. I've not a clue. It was Portuguese, and what it says. Dave, do you want to translate that for us, Julie?
No, as I say, I thought you were ordering food. You know,
I think it sounded like I was having a fit of some sort. What it meant was that Tottenham rejected approaches from Aston Villa and Chelsea for their midfielder Lucas Bergvall. So there we are. Okay. Now I'm going to read you a tweet that I really like. We talked about Johnny Heitinga before. This was one from I'll give it credit. It's from COYS. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it's from that account, and it said it's a beauty. This it says, "We're sad to hear the news of John Heitinga leaving Tottenham. What an impact he's had! What a chapter in Spurs history! That unforgettable, era-defining spell of 4 glorious weeks. The streets won't forget. Club legend." And that's a round of applause for me. That's such a beautifully put together tweet, and it nails it. Now, okay, so we're coming into the last lap of the show. Now, Dave, we are playing Arsenal this weekend. What are we going to win by?
Are we praying for a draw? That's it, is it? It's just something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd have Igor's babies if we beat those bastards. Honestly, I'll have all the surgery and whatever's required.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't really predict anything.
No, it's a toughie. Julie, I mean, this is, here we are. We're playing I was going to say the best team in the country, but the most effective team in the country. I was going to say, actually, when you were talking about Ez, the reason Ez apparently is not even all that liked by his own fans. And I reckon it's because this is a team of top-class pedestrian footballers. And this is Ez, we've got Ez who kind of strolls around languidly, playing these silky passes and that doesn't fit with the Arsenal that is like steamrolling the rest of the league, does it?
What do you want me to say? Was there a question in that?
I'm asking you. Well, it's a question. I don't know if you can't see a question in there, then okay, let's move on.
Can't really.
Let's move on. I tell you what, honestly, Kev, I mean, we're getting a lot of blowback here from some of the guests today, aren't we? Specifically, Julie. I think just because she said fuck 3 times, she's getting
Right.
ahead of herself, you know?
It was 2, wasn't it?
No, 3. So, all right, Julie, there wasn't a question there, but I was expecting you to, you know, with all your knowledge and understanding and experience,
I
come up
think
with
that what will
something.
happen is that we'll hang on and we'll hang on and we'll hang on, and you know, our hopes will have risen and our hearts will be in our mouths, and then they'll just do us 2-0 right at the very end. But we'll still be proud because, you know, been frightened of losing 4-0.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of that, isn't there? That as long as we put up a show, put up a fight, Kev, it will say something about Igor. It will say something about perhaps the direction of travel going, you know, from here to the end of the season. Do you think it's a free hit?
In a way, yeah. I mean, I think if we can avoid humiliation, I'll be all right with that. We've then got another, whatever it is, 11 games after. I do just want to say that I had a birthday card at the weekend from Charlie George, and I want to confess that it was arranged by someone I know who works at that place, and I opened it, you know, along with all the others, and there was a big picture with him and his straggly long hair and his annoying, you know, 70s bell-bottom shorts that they used to wear. It turns out that apparently he's quite a nice bloke, which I think is the most disappointing thing that's happened to me for quite a long time. So yes, that makes me want us to beat them even more.
Okay.
I think it's unlikely. They're not a very good team, but like you say, they're an effective team. And yeah, let's just not get thrashed. That's what I want.
Okay. That's troubling that you had a card from Charlie George and that insight that he's actually a decent bloke. I'm sorry, I'm just not taking it. I'm not having it.
Well, can I just say
yeah.
that long ago, I interviewed Charlie George when I just started as a football reporter, and he was absolutely fantastic. He was lovely. He was really good. And he actually spoke to me, you know, like a human being. He was brilliant bloke. And probably one of the few Arsenal players that I really like. And he's still alive. Yeah. Great.
He's still with us. Less hair, but he's still with us. Well, look, I tell you what, I think we've come to the end of a fascinating and broad-ranging show today. By the way, my prediction is 0-2, but I think we're going to play all right. So we've got Twitter. We've got Twitter/X. Why not give us a follow at Nice One Cyril Pod? We've got a website, www.niceonecyrilpodcast.co.uk. We are all over social media. And if you listen to us on whatever platform, why not give us a follow or subscribe, and you'll never miss an episode. There we are. That's it for today. My thanks to Kev and to Julie and to Dave. We'll be back, Kev and I, on Friday with our last-minute thoughts about the North London derby. And until then, come on you Spurs.
Nice one, Cyril. Nice one, Cyril. Nice one, Cyril.